Hey there, everybody out there in Twitter land, YouTube land, wherever interwebs land is. Welcome to another episode of Fighting the Void. It is I, Ginger, back with another fun conversation with one of the longtime friends of the show and one of my favorite people that I've found on Twitter, my crazy cousin Red.
Crazy?
Yes.
That's not nice.
I've called you that. I've called you that to your digital face before.
Yeah, I know. I've been called worse.
I know. I know, and you wear that with a badge of honor. So
I do. It's mostly done before noon. So.
That's true. That's true. I mean, if I were to call you those things, there'd be reason to take offense. But if they're well, okay, now maybe I'm offended. But hey, Red and I, we're here to talk about the fact that there's this growing I don't know if I want to call it a movement of people, growing number of people that are feeling politically homeless, lost in the wilderness, if you will, because you've got the infighting with the libertarians who are like, no matter what issue comes up, you get people screaming, "You're not a real libertarian!" And it can be about anything. It can be anything from abortion to, of course, the roads, to the police, to what proper toppings belong on pizza, whatever it is. Somebody's calling somebody not a real libertarian. And then you've got the conservatives who nobody even really knows what conservative is anymore. Let's be honest about that. As far, at least as it's applied politically, it seems to be whatever is most useful in attacking the Democrats, to be perfectly honest. And then you've got the liberals / progressives who are just completely diving down the rabbit hole of crazy. And just like, you know what? We've never met a batshit crazy idea we didn't like, except that one over there, because that was yesterday's batshit crazy idea. We've got one that's even batshit crazier today.
We've evolved.
Yes, we've evolved. There's a whole new level of batshit crazy. And yesterday, that's way too conservative for us. Thank you very much. We're looking forward to tomorrow, whatever crazy bullcrap we can pull out next. So you got the conservatives who are like, okay, I don't even know what I don't know what I am when I say I'm conservative anymore. I sure as hell don't know what you are if you say you're conservative. You've got the libertarians who have an equal problem defining themselves. They kind of go between being progressives who don't like taxes and people who actually are real conservatives who are socially conservative and believe in small government and would just as soon stay home instead of sending people off to war. And then you've got the people who are still liberal but don't want to go down the progressive rabbit hole because they just can't stand the smell of all the bat guano. And all of these people are going, I don't agree with any of these assholes. And I'm pretty sure they're all lying to me. And there's just more and more people that are coming to this realization. It doesn't mean they're necessarily switching sides. It doesn't mean they're necessarily going to vote differently when it comes to November. But it is a growing phenomenon. I find it extremely interesting. And frankly, I find it hopeful. First, before we get into it, I want to mention, we got a handful of people in the chat today. We've got Madness, who's been hanging out for about half an hour already.
Oh, my.
And bless his heart, not in the Southern sense, in the legitimate sense. And we, of course, have my favorite baby sister, Crystal, hanging out.
Crystal's here.
Yay. And we've got my buddy, Jake Wilson, hanging out there as well. And, yeah, I'm just scrolling through here. Oh, yeah, Madness brings up conservatarians, it's basically, conservatarians are basically conservatives. Really, because they adhere to the libertarianism they hold to is basically just small government. Yeah,
it's all stupid anyway. It's all just stupid, so it doesn't even matter. I think people become libertarians because they really don't know what the fuck they are. I think they're like, you know what? Libertarian sounds good. Look at all of them on Twitter acting like a dickhead. Hey, I'm a dickhead. Maybe I'm a libertarian. I think that's what happens.
Well, honestly, I think you're kind of onto something. You could say that libertarian is your first step on the road to realizing that none of
independent thought.
Right, to independent thought. And I'd say it's a first step on the road to it, because contrary to popular belief, libertarians do have their own set of beliefs that thou shalt adhere to, otherwise you're not a real libertarian.
Stop it.
And it's true though. And
I know.
Now, of course, there are fighting wings of libertarianism. That's true, but there is, but each faction, the two primary factions, the socially left and the socially right ends of libertarianism, they definitely have their own strict set of beliefs and everything. It's not just like, you know what, it's okay to think that the government should do this, but not that. It's like, no, this is your set, and this is what you should adhere to if you want to be part of our club, which I kind of get in a sense, because it's a club, right? A club is going to have a certain set of rules that you have to follow in order to belong to it.
Well, I would say I would go more with standards than I would rules.
That's fine. Yeah, standards.
I don't like that. I don't like the word rules.
That's fine. It's that's perfectly. It's just as applicable. And but eventually, people, once they start to call themselves libertarians, I mean, you definitely fall into this category yourself.
What?
Where I think, well, when we first started interacting on Twitter, you at least loosely identified yourself as libertarian.
Yeah, I don't want to associate it with that anymore at all. At all.
I am dead to myself.
Yeah, I am so just separated from all of it. I'm starting my own, where it's just, fuck it. We're going to make fun of everybody and take shots of whiskey. Like, that's my political affiliation now. Like, that's just what it is. We're doing whiskey and trolling the shit. Libertarians, conservatives, Republicans, I don't care. You're all stupid. I don't care. Every single last one.
Now, you definitely, again, I mean, that's what happens after you decide. It's like, you know what? The libertarians
they're crazy too.
Are often just as full of crap as everybody else.
Yeah. So,
and they're certainly just as tribal, maybe more tribal. You could definitely make that argument. So yeah, that you're like, you know what? I don't belong with any of these people if this is how it is. And I see a certain amount of hope in that. One, that maybe eventually we will recover some sort of standard, some principles and everything that large numbers of people could gather behind, principles that people are once again interested in holding consistently. I would love to see that, as opposed to just whatever is convenient for opposing the other tribe, or whatever just makes us crazier than we were yesterday.
Well, I mean, I think I would be more I'd probably be closer to conservative now. Right. And I mean, at least socially conservative, right? Like, I don't like the government. I don't want them really getting into, my life or anybody else's I'd like them involved as little as humanly possible, but I still understand somewhat of their role. I think to just completely get rid of it is asinine. It makes absolutely no sense. And there's always going to be, at least, it doesn't matter what you call it, there's still going to be somebody in power. But it's gotten to the point where everyone that is high up on the food chain in power, whatever you want to say, I almost think they orchestrate this whole thing where you have your Republicans, you have your Democrats, everyone's in these perfectly formed little groups, and everyone is fighting with everybody, and they're not paying attention to what politicians are actually doing.
Right.
They're just too busy fighting with each other. Like, hey, this politician says this about the other side, and then everyone's like, roar, let's get them. And they're not actually paying attention to what anyone's doing.
Yeah. And that's 100% accurate. And that's why, the news, right and left, frankly, is mostly concerned with small, petty things that the politician on the other side said or did. It's like, I definitely am sick of it on all of the news networks. Actually, I haven't even paid much attention to all the news networks in ages, because it's all just stupid. But even more independent news sites like the Daily Wire and such get caught up in this petty nonsense too. I'd rather spend time getting into either the philosophical meat behind the issues, or let's actually cover what the government is really doing, which is probably something I don't want them to do, because they're doing something.
Yeah.
It's like, if the government is doing something, it's probably something I don't want. Not necessarily, because as you said, there's certainly a role for government. There always has been, there always will be. I'm not an anarchist by any stretch of the imagination.
Let's not talk about them, because I'll get mad and I'll get really mean. Get really fucking mean.
See, usually angry red is the best red.
That's what I've been told.
Or at least
but then I get suspended.
Well, see, we're not on Twitter right now.
That's true.
Granted, we're on YouTube, but let's face it, this isn't monetized anyway.
Okay, okay. Well, then I can be a little bit mean, right? Okay. So
Sure.
Anarchy and anarchists are the little children that that always got their way and are used to never being told what to do. So they think that like the adult world is going to work that way, because they never got any kind of like no. Like they don't understand what the word no means, and they think that everyone just gets along with everybody else. And if government went away, people would treat each other really nice and with respect. I'm sorry, I think a lot of anarchists are actually predatory in nature, and I think a lot of them probably lean more towards criminal behavior. So of course they don't want any government or anybody that's, keeping track of any of their misdeeds, because then they can prey on the weaker. That's how I view it. Sorry, I know that sounds ignorant, but the conversations that I've had with a lot of anarchists, they really lose their shit relatively fast. And most of them are pricks. I know a few anarchists that I get along with really well, and I think their hearts are actually in the right place. But many of them just aren't. They're dicks. Sorry, anarchists are dicks. Period.
Well, and it comes from whether they know it or not, and I'm sure some do. It's essentially the philosophy of Rousseau, the guy who wrote The Social Contract back in the day. And his basic idea, his doctrine of original sin, was essentially that humanity screwed up when we first started to organize ourselves. That was the original sin of humanity. Was we began to form essentially institutions. We began to congregate in systems that required some sort of authority. That was that was our original sin. And he essentially was talking about we need to essentially, and you could say that he was arguing that we should get rid of that. You know what that led to? It led to the French freaking Revolution. Like literally. In fact, it was, I don't know if it's literally true, but it was at least joked that the second edition of The Social Contract was bound in human skin, the skin of the people killed in the French Revolution, of which Diderot, during which one of the philosophical leaders of it, Diderot, said there will be no peace until the last king is strangled with the entrails of the last priest. So
I like that guy. That sounds awesome. We'd probably be friends.
And that's what anarchy leads.
Well, you know what's interesting? I think Crystal actually had a very good comment, because she had just said to me, the biggest thing with anarchy I don't get is that a lot that I've encountered are cynics, but at the same time have a high faith in people remaining civil without some sort of order in place, which is fascinating, because they're always like, oh, well, if we just get the government out, things are going to be lollipops, rainbows, and everyone's going to be happy. There's no taxation. We don't need roads. We have 4x4, like four-wheelers. We just take it out there. We don't need roads. But then they're like, oh, well, it's they have no faith in humanity, because people are fucked up, right? Like they're like, well, the government is made of people and people are whatever, but everyone's gonna be all nice. Like I don't fucking understand how that. I'm sorry. I told you if we talk about anarchy, I'm gonna get mad. It doesn't make any sense. It's stupid. The only way anarchy works is in a cult form. Okay, it's the only way it would ever work is in a commune type of situation. But then that's still like government. See?
Well, and Manus is exactly right. Manus is exactly right here, because he points out that even in anarchism, you're going to have leaders that show up that will gather control and power. Either either to stop the people, either to stop the small predators that will definitely come up and try to take advantage of the weak, or people that are just, or the alpha predators who will try to establish control. I mean, that's exactly, again, the French Revolution is a great analogy here because it was chaos. And that's how you got Napoleon, because they needed somebody to end the freaking chaos. And that wound up being Napoleon, who wound up establishing an empire and ruling with an iron fist. It would have been fine if he just kept it to France, but he decided all of Europe needed his particular brand of leadership.
Right. Well, and you know what always made me laugh when I would get in conversations with anarchists? It would be, oh, well, cops are all pigs. I'm like, yeah, but not every human being acts the same, regardless of what you're in. And they want to convince me that all cops are evil. I'm sorry, I'm just never going to do that, because I don't think any group of people entirely 100% are evil. But then, oh, well, I'm like, so, okay, so we get rid of the cops, then what? Like, what happens? Oh, well, we privatize it and then we pay for the services we want. And I said, and what about poor people? Like, do their rights no longer matter? Like, how does that work? If they can't pay to be protected, then you can prey upon them, right?
Not to mention, you have essentially, then you still have cops.
They're just see, because they're calling them something different, Ginger. Then it's not this. See, that's where we're getting confused.
My mistake. How dare!
Just like they would, right? They would never have a government or a dictator. They would just, use different terms,
right?
Okay? And then it's okay in their brain because they switch the words and it's not actually government anymore.
And you've got to play it out a little bit. Who decides who to hire? Who decides how much to pay them? Where does that money come from? How do you decide? Like you said, does this person who couldn't afford to pay, do they get protected or not? As soon as you spend about 30 seconds thinking about this, it breaks down.
Yeah. Well, I think anarchy is just like people that like cowboy movies and they want to wear 6-shooters and just go around like do whatever the fuck they want. Like, I think that's what it is. Right. But we should probably make fun of every political affiliation. I'm completely prepared to do that. Trump fans piss me off too. I don't know what their problem is. Some of them worship the ground he walks on, and he can do no wrong.
Mm-hmm.
In fact, I had someone
talking about this earlier today. It's like there's with Trump, there's two extremes. It's either Cheeto. It's either to borrow a phrase from Steve Days, either Cheeto Jesus saves, or he's literally worse than literal Hitler.
Yeah.
It's like, come on, man. He's not. He's a guy.
He's human.
He's a guy. He is very rich. He has done a lot of stupid, bad things. He's also done some good things. It's like, please, it's totally redonkulous. The way people react to him. And yeah, you've got the I don't even want to necessarily call them conservatives, because Trump's greatest appeal isn't necessarily to conservatives, because he's not very conservative, actually. Nope. Contrary to what CNN would have you believe, he's not terribly conservative. He's actually much more like a Democrat from 10 years ago. To be honest, he really is. He happens to he's happened to have done a handful of things that, as somebody who still primarily politically identifies as a conservative, that I like, but he's done a lot of things that piss me right the hell off too. Yeah,
I just like him because he's a dick, basically.
But and that's honestly, that's his primary appeal. The primary appeal, he's just like, you know what?
I don't care.
He's like, yeah, I don't like you. Fake news.
Even when it's so ridiculous. Like, no, but I kind of think we almost needed, it sounds cliche, but I think we almost needed Trump to where we've gotten in society, where people are crying and whining over a joke, and we're talking about safe spaces and trigger warnings because people cry for no fucking reason. I almost think we needed Trump. I really do. Because some of this shit he says, I'm like, I would say that. I could 100% see myself saying that. And then other things he does, it's like, man, just stop talking. Just shut up.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Lots of times when I'm like, yeah, go get him. Other times, like, oh, please, dude. Just Melania, take the freaking phone out of him there in the bathroom while he's on this freaking golden toilet at 3 a.m. and slap the damn phone out of his hands. Just please. Other times, it's like, you know, Melania, just let him go. Let him go. I'm digging it. I'm all in. Where's the popcorn? Let's go. Come on.
Control your husband is what I say sometimes.
Yes.
That she needs to control her husband.
Yes. But you know what? Let's face it. She done gave up on that a long time ago. You know, whatever else he is. Well, I can't say that even Donald Trump is a man who can't be controlled. Actually, honestly, I think if you know how to handle him, I bet you can.
If you stroked his ego, if you stroked his ego enough.
Oh yeah. You've got to to control him. You have to massage the ego. If you offend the ego. That. If you offend the ego,
your target number
have
one.
No fury, like a Trump scorn.
Yeah, actually, I'll be the first one to admit he does. You don't want to go out and say somebody is a certain way because you have no actual 100% proof. You're not a psychiatrist, but he does behave like a classic narcissist. Like if anyone gives him any kind of criticism, it's just like he flies off the handle and he has to destroy you by any means necessary. But because I guess I'm a little sadistic. I think it's fucking hilarious when he does that. To certain people, I think it's funny.
It is often hilarious. You know, like to make fun of political parties. I long ago disassociated myself with the Republicans because the Republicans are definitely not conservative. The Republicans are actually just whatever it is that will get us elected. And
right, like they switched over. You've noticed in the Republican Party. Now we're talking about, and I got so much shit for this, and I don't care. I'm going to say it live too. You're going to hear my voice saying it, so get ready. Gay people are not conservative. I'm sorry. I know that sounds fucked up, but you can't have a homosexual conservative. You just can't. It doesn't make any sense. What are you conserving? Like
you can have a homosexual with lots of conservative positions.
That's not what I said, though. Absolutely, I 100% agree. But they are not conservatives.
I'm just making sure to clarify.
Like you clarify all you want, but I stand by what I just said. We're talking about
like the big C conservative, like applies across the board. You know,
if we're talking about lowercase, if we're talking about lowercase conservative, then yeah.
Regardless, I mean, yeah. Like I said, if conservative is like a lowercase thing where it means like. Where it's applied strictly politically in the sense of you like a small government, you don't like taxes and stuff like that, then yes. If we're talking big C where it includes social conservatism, then obviously not.
Yeah. No, I agree. That makes a lot more sense. You worded that a lot better than I did. As usual, I just get mad and then I start yelling and screaming.
It's my job. I write things and get paid for it sometimes.
I don't. I just yell and make people block me. That's pretty much all I do.
But you know what? It's another thing where I'm just like, pass the popcorn. This is fun to watch.
You know what? It's fun. It's fun to do too.
Yes.
It is very fun to do because I don't really get my feelings hurt.
And that's good. And that's good.
It probably
I'm
is,
a ginger. Yes. I have no soul, therefore there are no feelings. So
you have feelings, don't lie.
Yeah. Well, you know, maybe.
Should we tell them since we're live?
No,
should we tell them that you're probably meaner than I am? In all actuality, no one would believe that. I'm a hugger, you know.
Right. Oh yeah.
You're not.
Don't touch me. We were talking about this. She's like, I'm like the guy who's like, just don't touch me. I don't. Just stop.
I hug everybody.
Just stop. It's like I like you. You're just fine, but I like you more over there.
And you never fight on Twitter. That's why it's funny. I call everyone fuckhead. What I call that one lady? The one that was like big.
That one.
I'm sorry. I call a lot of people names. No, it was the human bouncy castle. You have to remember that one.
I do actually.
I said you don't have the right to call or kill your kid just because your mommy's a human bouncy castle. And after I said it, I'm like, oh, I'm gonna get suspended on. And I was like, fuck it, let it ride. Let's see what happens.
It'll be entertaining. Always entertaining. But so yeah, you know, I disassociate myself from the Republicans because they just they stopped caring about anything serious a very long time ago. And honestly, probably longer with people than people actually think. I started wrestling with this whole politically homeless notion back when McCain lost. Like I started really thinking about it. It's like actually looking at everybody's positions and being like, oh my gosh, they've changed this, they've changed that. It doesn't matter. Just as an example, one of the first things I can clearly remember seeing that was strictly political bias. All it was way back during the Clinton administration. He was looking for he was trying to develop a ballistic missile defense system. And there was a quote from Strom Thurmond, South Carolina senator, if I remember correctly. And he long since died because he was already like 147 back then. And he was just his response to the notion was, well, he wants a legacy, does he? Well, la-di-da, not on my watch. I'm like, but is it a good idea or not? Is it a good idea to have a missile defense system or not? Well, I don't care if freaking the guy who likes to do strange things with cigars has the idea or not. I don't care if it's him or not with this idea. Is it a good idea or not? Should we be doing it or not? And that's what we should be going based on. Whether it's a good idea, and of course, whether it's allowed by the Constitution or not. Not, well, he's doing it. He has a D behind his name, so screw him. Yeah. And, then I remember seeing, there was some sort of argument about somewhere about the same time, there was some sort of argument about the marriage tax, which apparently in some places is a legitimate tax penalty to get married. And, about dealing with that. And, because Republicans were in office, Democrats didn't want to do anything with it. And then as soon as it swapped, it was the other way around. It's like, really? Really? Do people think no one notices this? And in fact, there's not enough people do. And even if they do, it's at the end of the day, you don't want the other team in power because they're going to at least try to do stuff you don't like. Or at least that's the case if the Democrats are in power. Because the Democrats, while I hate just about every position they have, at the very least, they mean what they say for the most part. They actually try to do the batshit crazy stuff. So, credit where it's due. They're not just blowing smoke up their supporters' rear ends. No. They are somewhat. Especially the radical progressive wing, like AOC and the freaking squad and everything. I think they're true believers.
Oh my gosh. You don't think she's trolling?
No.
You think AOC is really that dumb? Oh my gosh.
I do. Yes, I do.
Shit. We're gonna die.
I think she and Omar and Tlaib and the other one that nobody knows. I think Ayanna Pressley. I think that's her name.
I think so.
And I think they really believe all the batshit crazy shit they say. And if they ever really get in power, oh no. But at the same time, all the stuff that they're saying, honestly, I think most of the Democrat establishment also believes, or at least close enough. They are just a little more politically savvy, and they understand you can't jump there right away. I think AOC and everything is basically, they've got the same, I think she's got the same basic goals as Pelosi. Just Pelosi realizes that the American public just ain't quite there, so you gotta be a little sneakier with it.
I don't think Pelosi is that dumb. I think she's just old.
Well, there's that.
But it sucks because I'm not big on Democrats, right? I think and what really pisses me off, libertarians, when they say it doesn't matter, they're both sides are the same. They're not even close to being the same thing. I'm sorry, but anyway, Democratic wise, like I don't really have too big a problem with Pelosi. I just think she's really old. Like she seems like a sweet lady and one that I could probably, have tea or some shit with. I mean, probably have to cut the language out or she'd smack me. But I think I could have tea with her. I think it'd be fun.
I think it'd be entertaining.
I mean, that's what I mean. Fun,
the
entertaining.
whole thing is, though,
fun.
her ideas and everything, they lead to the same place.
Oh yeah, absolutely, 100%. I'm just saying, I don't think she's as.
Yeah, I'll leave aside whether or not they're actually like explicitly believe the same things, but Pelosi's ideas lead to AOC's ideas.
Oh yeah, 100%. I agree.
Without any doubt. And besides, when it comes to Pelosi in particular, I am sick and tired of her trotting out the fact that she's Catholic, whatever it comes to something having to do with taxes, but then conveniently ignores it anytime it has to do with abortion. I am really sick of that.
Yeah, I don't. Are we really doing abortion right now? Because you know how I feel about that.
We don't have to go there at
Okay.
all right now. I just brought it up as like a.
Because I think my voice changed.
It's like that's enough for me to dislike Pelosi.
Yeah, I think my voice changed when you brought up abortion. Because I could go on for like hours.
Oh,
on that.
I know. And don't worry, we'll do that again sometime in the future.
Oh, we're gonna. Let me ask you real quick before we go on. Is there any way that we could find a way to have other people call in? Would that be a possibility? Because I'd love to shred one of these pro-choicers on air. I would just love to rip into one. Verbally, of course, because I'm anti-violence.
Yeah. Of course. I'm sure there is a way, but I don't think there's a way with this particular program that we're using.
Well, if you want to help, I'll help you look into it.
Oh yeah,
so we can find out.
Yeah. I would actually love to do that. That or we could always do we could always do a Periscope.
Yeah, that's true. We could do that too.
Yeah, I mean that's always an option. We know that works.
Yes.
So maybe if it takes too long to figure out a good solution, then we just do that. But I know I think you can do it if you use OBS, but I haven't figured out how to make OBS work with my system. It was frustrating me. I was trying to figure that out before Nico informed me via Crystal of this particular app that we're using right here. So
nice.
Yeah, I know OBS is what Matt Christensen uses. So I've got but I kept looking, I kept doing all these tutorial videos and everything, and I couldn't make it work to save my life. It was pissing me off. There's something twitchy about my particular system that doesn't like all the different parts to work together. I could make this part work, I could make that part work, but to make them all together, that was difficult. And Jake, Discord, my system doesn't, at least it doesn't like doing video with Discord very much. But maybe I can work on that. But anyway, gosh, and then back to the whole political affiliation thing.
Libertarians, I think, make me the most mad because they're the part that I've been in the longest.
Right. Yeah. Conservatives, like I said, it's hard to define exactly what conservative is in a practical sense.
Mm-hmm.
As a matter of principle, it's definitely socially conservative, fiscally conservative, and small government, as few rules as possible. But those are some pretty broad principles. Whereas when you start getting, especially when it comes to matters of taxes and exactly what specific things government should do, as soon as you get into that, you do get down into the weeds, and it gets murky. It legitimately does. And that's where you get a lot of the conservative infighting is, what is a legitimate use of taxes? What's a legitimate way to go about collecting? Because I don't care who you are, you at the very least with a government need to have a common defense, and that's going to take money, and that's going to be taxes. And it's just a question of what the taxes are, how they're collected, how much they are. At that point, it's like you need to have that. And even the anarchists who are like, well, you'll raise your private funds and everything to have your own private security force. Guess what? Those funds, those are called taxes.
Yeah.
Especially if you apply it in such a way that, well, if you can't afford it, then you don't get protected.
That's stupid, and it's like I don't know.
It's the same sort of thing. It's taxes.
It's also weird. Like I don't know. Libertarians, I think a lot of them have their heart in the right place. I just don't know where the fuck their brain is. Like it just doesn't. Nothing adds up. Like I think what finally got me kind of away from libertarianism is watching how they interact on Twitter. I mean, I thought I was a dick. Like they act like they know everything.
Yeah.
They act like the government's just like, if we do away with it, everything will be fine. But that's more anarchy. But
right. Well, and there is a huge strain of libertarianism that really does tend towards anarchism. And that's
neocons.
A problem.
We said we should slam neocons.
Oh
soon.
Gosh. Yeah. I mean, neocons, the old joke is that neocons are just liberals that got mugged.
What?
Yeah.
I never heard that one.
Oh, really?
No.
Yeah. You know, there's they're essentially liberals. They just one day somebody held them at gunpoint, so they're like, my gosh, maybe we should be tough on crime. And you know, and of course the neocons they're most famous for foreign interventionism is what they're most well known for. But they're also the people that gave us the fiscally conservative, socially liberal thing. Because
I mean, I'll be honest, I probably don't know enough about this to have this conversation. Neocons, I'm not too familiar. I've heard it thrown around a bit, but I don't have time.
You know, the George Bush style conservatism is essentially those are essentially neocons.
Oh, gross. Okay, yeah. That makes sense. Okay.
Bush, McCain, Romney, those are all neocons.
Yeah, I don't like any of those people.
Lindsey Graham, that whole tribe, the Bushy, the National Review style of conservatism, the guys with the guys that they're the guys that most people have in mind when they're making fun of conservatives.
Okay.
Is these guys, the old white guys in their buttoned up shirts and their ties and you know, smoking the cigars in the back rooms. That's these guys. You know, they're typically very well educated,
very pro-war,
very elitist, very happy to throw the military in to make the world safe or whatever. And it's it hasn't worked out well, guys. I don't know if you've noticed, but we're still in Iraq. It's still a giant pit. We're still in Afghanistan. It's still a giant pit. For crying out loud, have a simple, clear, defined goal and get the hell out. Otherwise, we're sitting in the graveyard of empires for 2 freaking decades, where you've got people going there now to fight a bunch of freaking terrorists in mountains and sand traps that weren't even born when 9/11 happened. Are you freaking? That's just crazy. I don't care who you are or whatever. It's crazy.
I'm glad he mentioned that. I don't think I've ever heard you rant this way. It's awesome.
Oh, I do from time to time, but this is
I noticed.
That's just in. It's like, please, can we stop doing the same thing over and over and over again? Either just get the everything hell out of there and stop wasting our time, money, and lives, or you know what? Let's do it. If you want to rule the place, let's do it right. Let's send freaking 20,000 troops over there, and we'll be the a-holes that rule it with an iron fist. Okay? Pick one.
Mm-hmm.
Honestly,
I just say we get out of there and just
that's
because they've been feuding for how many years now? Like, how long has the Middle East been feuding with each other? Just let them take care of themselves. Why do we have to be over there? Yeah, mind your business. Just get out.
How many years have people been fighting in the Middle East? All of them. All the years.
All of the years that have ever existed.
There have been people fighting in the Middle East.
It's almost like America is that like one sibling that like the other kids are playing, and they have to go up and be like, we want to play too. And just go
Right.
up in there because they're not getting any attention. Just run over and start playing too.
Can we get in on this?
We want to play Cowboys and Indians too.
We haven't done that since. Well, we killed most of the Indians. You know.
Yeah, but it's not funny though, really, because we're still sending over like our husbands, our brothers, our sisters, our mothers. Like it's just shitty, and they're dying. So
yeah, and with no clearly defined goal, it's just because if we don't, the bad guys will completely take over. Well, they already take over most of the damn country anyway. And like I said, if you really want to do it, send 20,000 troops over there and rule it with an iron fist, because that's what you have to do. Or just get out. And I'm in favor of getting out because there's no point to sitting over there. Now, I've noticed somebody, again, referencing Steve Deace. He's a commentator over at Blaze TV. He mentioned it's like, honestly, I think the real reason is somebody's got to keep the opium flowing.
Makes sense.
And we got to keep those opium trains running on time. I'm like, I don't want that to be true, but I'm a little afraid it is.
Yeah.
It's like we're all worried about our opioid addiction problems, all the fentanyl coming in and everything. What if we're the real cause?
Honestly, I don't care about drugs.
Yeah, but you get my point.
Yeah, I know.
That's one of the latest things everybody's all worried about. I'm like, what if we're at the base of it? What if we're at the beginning of the food chain of that? We're at the beginning and the end of the food chain. And
no, Ginger, we're America.
Yeah, and we've never done anything messed up. That's right. I
forget. Stop. Just stop. We're America.
Yeah.
We're amazing all the time, forever, and all of eternity.
This
isn't me bashing America, just so no crazy person.
Right.
It's in here,
Admitting the fact that we ain't perfect. American exceptionalism doesn't mean everything we do is right.
What?
Well, there's.
Oh, let me ask you this. I have to ask you because I want your take on it. Is showing tits a conservative thing? Go. I'm sorry. It just pisses me off that so many think it is.
No.
It makes me so angry.
No, it is not. It is not a big C conservative thing.
Thank you. I've gotten so many fights over this. It's so stupid.
Yeah. I see, and I know exactly who you're talking about with it.
I am not talking about anyone specific. There's a lot of whores, Ginger.
Well, yes, there are, especially in the last 5 years. This has been a thing. I think Tommy Lahren made it cool. And
she's a ditz. I'm sorry. I cannot stand her.
Oh yeah, I'm not a fan.
Yeah, I'm not either. She's pretty. Don't get me wrong. She's gorgeous.
But
she's an airhead. I'm sorry. She's just an airhead to me.
Yeah, I am not in the Tommy Lahren fan club by any means. But I know that's also not who you're talking about. But this has been an increased thing in the last few years, and it's essentially I don't know exactly what's behind it, but it's definitely the drive of at least a very prominent wing, basically the neocon wing of conservatives, to continually do away with anything resembling social standards. So long as you obey the laws, you're fine.
No. Sorry, I laughed because of the comment of your one friend, if you want to read it.
Oh, yeah, the transgender, vegan, non-binary lizard person. The new. Oh, okay. Jake also listens to Steve Deace. That's a phrase that their producer Aaron McIntyre throws around from time to time.
I had to ask my teen too what non-binary was, and she's like, "Oh, well, it's where someone doesn't identify as a male or a female." I'm like, "That's fucking insane." What does that mean?
Yes,
like, that's so fucking insane.
That's affirmative.
It doesn't make any sense.
No, it doesn't. It's like, well, it kind of like people throw around the word pansexual. I'm like,
what is that?
Well, I finally figured it out.
I think it's sex with like pans. Is that bad?
But that's called masturbation. But anyway,
I don't use pants.
Oh, pans! I thought you said hands.
I said pans.
Hands. Whatever. It all sounds like the same thing. No, I think I figured out what it means. It's a bisexual that buys all the gender fluidity nonsense. That's all it is.
Okay, so like a bisexual could be attracted to men, women, and men that think they're women, and women that think they're men.
Right. And
that's stupid. So they would
men
fuck
who identify
everybody
with
basically.
the planet Jupiter and things like that. Women who think they're cats. Whatever.
So pansexual fucks anything. Okay.
All the things.
All of the things.
All the things. But,
and has all of the STDs. Anyway, go on. I'm sorry. That was me.
But madness is essentially right. Pansexual equals fancy way of saying bisexual.
No. Pansexual is a fancy way of saying whore, Madness. Whore. I'll help you later. That's whore.
I'll just cut right to the chase here.
I'm sorry.
No, it's
if
okay.
you fuck all of the things, that there's nothing left for me to call you.
See, Red, and this is why you're here, because it's always entertaining. It's like, oh, you know what? We're just gonna take all those notions of civility, everything. We're just gonna light that on fire.
I'm not saying it directly towards someone. I haven't done that in a long time.
And we're proud of you.
Wait, I don't know. Maybe I think I did it yesterday. Never mind.
Well, for you, that's a long time.
It was a long time. I'm proud of myself. It's 24 hours.
Yeah. Oh, goodness. But then you got now you've got a lot of people who were struggling with this whole notion of political homelessness and everything. Especially, I find this with people that are frustrated with the libertarians and frustrated with conservatives. You get the people going the route of, I guess, the alt-right. You get people joining up with Nick Fuentes and his groypers, whatever the hell a groyper is. I don't even know.
It's a frog.
Yeah, the frog crowd. And, and that comes with its own batch of batshit crazy, which is, it's what if anything bad that happened? There's probably a Jew involved somewhere along the lines. And, you get into the notions of then it becomes not just political purity, becomes like you get people obsessed with racial purity and everything. It's like, come on, guys, what is going on with this? It's like it's this that I think is at least partially related to this phenomenon of going, well, these people lied to me here and here on this. I mean, that's obvious, but then they start assuming that they start taking for granted, I should say, that they've been lied to on everything. And that includes ideas of race and everything. So whatever it is they grew up with, which is probably the same sort of basic notions that we grew up with, like the races are equal and all of that, which I believe certainly in a moral sense, and they start taking for granted that the first thing that questions whatever notion it is that they grew up with, and that must be the truth. So you get people like Stefan Molyneux going, well, you look at these IQ statistics and everything, and obviously these races are inferior, and these races are superior, and therefore we should treat them accordingly, as many people take it.
The only race that is superior is me. I am my own race.
The red race?
The red race.
The red race. Well,
I like that. That sounds good.
Well,
by the way, he is right. He is right. In the comments, if you read the comments, whatever you think of Nick, his takedown of Kirk was epic and hilarious. Kirk is a dirtbag too. Like I'm telling you, I don't know what happened to me. I hate everybody. Everybody in the political route, like I hate them all.
Right.
I think they're all full of shit.
Oh yeah. And Kirk represents Kirk is essentially the young neocon. He's the guy trying to keep neocon going for the next generation. And I very much dislike that. And I saw a thread from somebody who's been involved with TPUSA and everything, basically talking about how she doesn't feel at home there. She's been to the events and everything. Is it's like it all, and I'm paraphrasing here, but it basically seems like a bunch of basically all the well-to-do, preppy, popular kids from school who they're all sleeping around and everything, and they just don't like taxes. It's essentially, the people that go to CPAC. And I've heard CPAC referred to as Reagan Palooza. It's basically where all the young conservatives get together to party and do hookups. It's like, that's not what I terribly want to be associated with. And fortunately, many of the commentators that I listen to and everything don't have a lot of patience for CPAC either.
I don't blame them.
Nope, me neither. Because it's like, well, I mean, for crying out loud, they had Van Jones speak at the last one.
Really?
Yeah. It's like he's a literal socialist, guys.
Oh,
why is a CNN socialist speaking at the Conservative Political Action, whatever the other C stands for? It's like, why is this happening? It's ridiculous. Manus rightly points out that the alt-right they're essentially socialists, is what it really comes down to. They're just socialists with a different sense of priorities that we normally associate with socialists.
Okay, now when we talk about alt-right, are we talking about Twitter alt-right? Are we talking about legitimate alt-right? Because sometimes I've been called alt-right because I will just fuel any fire of a troll that I have the potential to do because I don't care.
I'm talking legitimate alt-right. When I say alt-right, I mean real alt-right.
Well, some people think that just because of what you say on Twitter, it means you're alt-right. That's why I was asking.
No.
Okay.
I'm talking about people that actually believe this crap, not just random trolls. Although, there's some that it gets a little hard to tell the difference. I'm
not random. I'm pretty popular for my trolls. This is my 20th account. Okay. I have a name here.
This is true, by golly.
Okay.
But yeah, I'm not a huge fan of them, but we're actually getting, we're actually kind of getting close to the hour already, if you can believe it or not.
Jeez.
I know. So, before we wrap it up, where do you think this is going? Where all of these people? Because there's people that you've got the walkaway movement who are essentially liberals that don't consider themselves leftists.
Right.
You've got libertarians, which is essentially a refuge for people who are tired of conservatism in some way, or tired of liberalism in some way. Those are essentially the primary wings, and then you've got other people that are a step or two further down the line from that, who aren't necessarily identifying with any political party, and if they identify with a philosophy, or at least trying hard to define that philosophy. Where do you think that's going? Because there's definitely different. They're not all one neat little group. That's for sure. The politically homeless aren't a coherent community themselves. They're more like just it's just a loose term applied to everybody who's.
Well, you used the word that I was going to use. The only thing that I can think of where it's going to lead, because obviously it can't predict the future, but I think it's just going to make a lot of people angry.
What's that?
I don't know exactly where it's going to lead, obviously, because it can't predict the future, but I know it's making a lot of people angry and unsure of the future, and I think that's going to cause more problems.
Yeah, definitely in the short term, it's going to get worse. And for the most part, I think most of the people that are feeling frustrated and politically homeless will either not vote, which is
that's where I'm leaning, to be honest.
Okay. And then you'll have the others. I think the vast majority will continue to vote wherever it is they came from.
Yeah.
Because while they may be frustrated with where they came from, they're still more afraid of the other side. I think that's especially the case when it comes to like the walkaway crowd. While they may be annoyed with the Democrats, while they may not be progressive, at the end of the day, they're probably still more afraid of what conservatives would do if they ever got in power. So they'll continue to vote Democrat. And certainly people who are pissed off with the Republicans are still more likely to continue to vote for them than for Democrats or libertarians, because they're so dang afraid of what the Democrats are going to do. And as I said earlier, the Democrats have shown a willingness to even take political hits to accomplish their goals and actually do what they say. Whereas the Republicans, they never do what they say they're going to do. Almost never. Yeah. They are the worst.
And the really messed up thing was, as soon as I seen, it was the weirdest thing. As soon as I seen a bunch of libertarians essentially drooling over that Tulsi lady,
right?
I lost it. I'm like, she voted for Hillary Clinton.
I know.
Are you serious?
It's like, give me a break. It's like, okay, she's saying things that she doesn't like war, and I understand that's a big, stance with.
She voted for Hillary, but you don't like war? Shut the fuck up! I'm sorry, you made me mad.
I know. Well, and not to mention every other position she has is a big government status position.
Yes,
it's just she's not a bitch about it. That's it. She's not a bitch about it, and she's pretty. Okay.
Yes.
Yay.
And she made workout videos too. So essentially, basically, if I want to take control of the United States, all I have to do is some fucking squats. Are you serious? You people are dumb. Like, you're straight up dumb. I'm sorry.
Well, I
could be dictator tomorrow. All I need is a camera and some squatting. People would hand me over power. Go fuck yourselves. What?
You don't even have to do the squats on video. I'll vote for you anyway.
Yeah, well, you don't have to vote for me. I'm a dictator. I'm just going to do it anyways. True. It's more like a cult.
Well, it is more like a cult.
I will come for you.
No,
okay.
No, now, Crystal over there, she's been desperately trying to get us to answer our question.
What was it?
It's George Washington and many of the other founders were not fans of political parties at all. They saw it as, fomenting factions and divisions and people just doing things for the good of their party and not the good of the country. What do you think?
Haven't given it much thought till I see the question.
Well, think about everything we've been talking about.
I like it.
There you go. Yeah. I like it. It's a good ideal because they were right. I mean, look at where we are right now. Obviously, they were right. Political parties do lead to factionalism. They do lead to people supporting the tribe as opposed to the country. They were absolutely right about that. That was very foresighted of them, or hindsighted, because they based that idea on what they saw in England. However, much like the anarchists who assume that everything will be fine if you just get rid of government.
It will. People are really nice.
Right. Human nature is what human nature is.
Mm-hmm.
People will naturally organize themselves into some sort of governing, some sort of society with a governing power. And within that governing power, there will be factions. It's not that I like it, but it's the way that it is.
Yeah.
And I genuinely, I think George Washington was right that that happened, that's exactly what would happen. But he had, I think, himself an overly optimistic view of human nature, thinking that it could be prevented from happening. It is just what's gonna happen. You can't really completely stop it, as much as you might like. In some ways, the only way you could possibly avoid it is to encourage more than just the two-party system that we have. I don't even like the term two-party system, to be honest, because it's not that we have a constitutionally mandated two-party system. It's just the way it's shaken out. We could have, technically, we have a number of political parties in this country. It's just there's only two that are viable. and I don't know how to change that in the short term. The only way it could change is if everyone who's frustrated with the party says, "Screw you! I'm not voting for you just to vote for the other guy. I'm going."
Yes, it won't happen though.
Somebody who's actually I am happy to vote for, as opposed to finding the person I'm voting against. And you're absolutely right, though. It would have to happen in droves, massive, to really make a difference in the short term. Massive amounts of people would have to do this all at once. However,
Madness, stop it. Madness said earlier, Tulsi is least bad Republican or Democrat candidate. It doesn't matter. Like, if you have a murder that happens, would you rather be shot or stabbed? Doesn't matter. You're still dead. Bad is still bad.
Well,
doesn't matter. Shut up.
This steaming pile of crap is slightly smaller than this other steaming pile.
Madness, you usually don't make me mad. You made me mad. Stop.
But well, he's essentially making the point. I know the point that Josie was making is like a while back. If you'd rather, which of these idiots would you rather have in charge? Because one of these idiots is a legitimate possibility.
Yeah, but I don't buy that, because that's giving in to the whole mentality of that whole two-party system. That's why I don't believe in libertarians anymore, because it's, well, somebody over here is going to rule, so which one do you want? You guys have been trying to push the libertarian mindset for so long, and you just keep giving in to the same shit all the time. I can't take you seriously when you do that. I can't.
That's a very good point. But then again, it's also there's a point where, you know, it's I've got what I want, I've got the principle, and then I've got what reality is.
Okay, and that's see right there. Let me stop you right there. If reality is one thing, then you're a fucking idiot to be in something that doesn't align with reality, right?
Yes.
All right.
Yeah.
So what are we talking about here?
And you know
it's
what?
Dumb.
Red.
I'm sorry.
That may be the best. Well, yeah. I see what you're saying. And in a lot of ways, that may be the best possible response to that. However, there's also, on the other hand, you have the idea that's like, well, you know, this is what reality is, so we just got to go along with it. And
I don't like that.
And sometimes reality, especially when it comes to politics, is a piece of crap, and needs to be pushed back against, because it's not necessarily objective reality. It's just the reality created by these assholes that are in power, and they need to be pushed back on, because the idea that, well, you know, this is just the reality, and we have to, you know, do our best with what we've got, is exactly how you got the neocons. That's how you got John McCain. That's how you got Mitt Romney. That's exactly how you got there, because that was the Buckley idea of we should try to elect the most conservative possible candidate.
Yeah.
And human nature being what human nature is, you continually talk yourself out of what actually is possible and just what you think. You keep going to a lower and lower common denominator is what usually happens with that. It's like, well, you know, if we elect this guy, if we nominate this guy, he'll make these guys mad, and he'll make these guys mad over here. But this guy, he's nice and safe. He's got, you know, he's a moderate, which basically means he doesn't have any real particular views, and he will change.
It's scarier, though. I don't know why people don't understand that. It's a lot scarier to have someone that's wishy-washy than to have a dickhead or a bitch like me be like, no, it's not what it is, because you know what you're going to get. A moderate, you have absolutely no idea what you're going to get.
Oh yeah.
It's however they feel that day. Or, you know, if it's a woman and she gets her period, then she fucking nukes China. You don't know.
It could happen.
It could happen. Well, I got my period last week, and I was thinking about it.
I'd rather go up against a jihadist who I know wants to cut my head off, as opposed to as opposed to the progressive suburbanite who will smile as they lead me off to prison.
Yeah.
And try to convince me that it was a good thing, while 10 minutes before they're pretending they were my friend. At least I know with the radical jihadists, I know exactly where I stand.
Right. I've always said this: rather an honest enemy than a dishonest friend.
Yes, exactly. Exactly the point.
Yeah.
And give me somebody who's clear on their stances, who clearly believes what they believe. Like I said, I'd rather have AOC than Pelosi in a way, because I know
what you're getting with her.
I know she's going to try to do some batshit crazy stuff.
Yeah.
As opposed to Pelosi, who will probably try to do some batshit crazy stuff, but she's going to do it in such a sneaky, underhanded way, you might not see it coming. You know what I mean? Nope.
Yeah, sorry, I was reading.
Oh.
I can't walk and chew gum at the same time. I'm that person. I can't read and talk at the same time, surprisingly.
I hear you. Every now and then I kind of have to glance over and see what's going on.
Yeah, because I'm trying not to, because I know Madness said he'd rather hang out with someone who openly hates you than a backstabber. I'd rather hang out by myself.
Exactly. Well, yeah, there's always door number 3, which is screw all y'all.
Well, I guess what I was saying earlier with libertarianism, it's especially with the Tulsi thing, like going back to that a little bit, right. It's, well, who would you rather have out of these people? No one, and that's Democrat, Republican, Libertarian, like no one is standing by what their actual beliefs or convictions are. And that pisses me off when people do that. Absolutely. You can't, we have to do this. I'm not a big fan of we have to, because first off, I ain't got to do shit. Okay. Like I don't like when someone says you have to pick between these two. No, I'm just going to stay home because my conscience isn't going to allow me to vote outside of my belief, because then I won't be able to sleep at night. I'm weird like that.
Well, honestly, that's a perfectly viable option. I mean, honestly, it was that sort of thing where I didn't vote for Trump or Hillary.
I didn't either. I stayed out.
I went with the, with a third party candidate. No, not Gary Johnson.
No, I didn't know. I didn't like anybody. I stayed out of it.
So I was like, this guy, it was so small. I had to write him in. I'm like, whatever, that's fine. I don't want any of these idiots, because I was like, we know Hillary's horrible and bad. Trump, his character is pretty terrible. Mm-hmm. He's saying all the right things, but so does everyone else who runs with an R behind their name. And I haven't seen squat. I have no reason to think that he'll be different. So, I'm going to vote for some third party guy. Now, that said, I was watching the election coverage, and I was actually watching the Daily Wire's election coverage of it, and they get to it's going on into the night, and they're like, Trump starts to win a bunch of states and everything. Like, wait a minute, he might pull this off. And then they start talking about my home state of Michigan. And like, this actually might might be decided by Michigan. If he gets Michigan, it might be all over. I'm like, oh no.
Did you stay up too?
I did.
Me and my husband stayed up, and I remember it just like it was yesterday. I smacked him on the shoulder. I said, holy shit, you're fired. Like, that guy is our president. What the fuck is happening?
We live in the most entertaining, I'm not going to say it's the best, but it's definitely the most entertaining time.
Oh, it is. Do you remember, because I think you're a little bit older than I am, but do you remember that show Candid Camera?
Yes.
I'm expecting it anytime someone to pop up, be like, just kidding. Like, because this is also crazy. Like, men don't always have dicks, and women can have a penis and get an erection. Like, I have no idea.
You're like, wait, what?
Like, what is happening? Yeah.
So somebody good pull back that curtain. I want to see the man behind that curtain. Who's pulling the levers? This is all bullshit.
Yeah. Pretty much.
Yeah. But I started getting nervous. I was like, oh no, if Michigan for some reason goes to Hillary by one vote,
I was gonna leave.
I am not gonna. I am not gonna be able to live with myself.
I was thinking about it. I looked over at him at one point, and I'm like, if we have a woman as pregnant or president, we're all gonna die. Like, because one period, everyone's toast.
Okay. Hillary is about 175 years old already at this point, I think. So I'm pretty sure.
Of course, she's gonna kill everybody.
We're way past menopause, but then again, I think she's primarily an evil android anyway, and would probably sent the aliens to kill us.
I'm not going to sleep tonight now. Like, there's no way. I'm going to stay up. So you're going to have me on YouTube.
Her and Martha Stewart are actually truly lizard people, and they were sent to infiltrate society and end it if they could.
Stop it. I watch so many conspiracy videos on lizard people and slow motion shots of like eyeballs. It's ridiculous. Like, I don't have the time to go into all of it. And the Illuminati.
You're concerning me now.
Yeah, I'm sorry. You started it.
I didn't really think I was starting anything, but okay.
You did. Every time you talk to me, you start something.
Oh, sure. Now you're blaming your problems on me.
I have to.
No,
it's not my fault.
But
I have a vagina. I'm never wrong. #me too.
Okay, yeah. See, now you know what you sound like, and I'm just not even going to go there.
If you call me a feminist, I'm hanging up.
I just said you know what you sound like. What conclusions you draw, that's on you.
That's mean.
It is.
It's okay. Me too. Only in public. Like when we go off the air to be like, so how was your day? How are the kids and the wife?
Pretty much.
Yeah.
Pretty much how it actually goes when the camera's not rolling.
Yeah.
Speaking of which, we are actually a bit past the hour, as typically happens when you're on.
Yeah, I know. I'm sorry. I talk a lot.
It's all good. And you know what? The chat room's been lively, so I think it's okay.
Oh, okay. Yay. Madness is always here, so I think I should give him a shout out. Thank you so much.
You should.
He's my Twitter son.
He's your Twitter son? I have noticed him calling you Twitter mom lately.
Yeah. So it makes sense he'd be a little wacky.
It does.
Yeah.
It does. So Madness, you actually can blame your problems on Red. I will support you.
On your mom. Tell your therapist. Yes.
Oh, she's your mom. I get it now.
Hey.
What?
It's okay when I say it.
Oh, I forgot. That's right. We're talking about double standards here.
Yes.
My mistake. What was I thinking?
Yes, you're a misogynist. It's okay.
Obviously. Obviously. I mean, my poor girls tell me that same thing.
I love them, by the way.
They are fun. They are fun to have on. But anyway, thanks everybody for coming in and hanging out and chatting tonight. It's been a lot of fun, as per the usual. And next week, we're going to do a massive shift, because the last thing we want to do on this channel is stay focused on just one thing, because that's boring.
Mm-hmm.
We're going to have currently scheduled anyway. There are a couple things that could get in the way. We've got Jake, who's currently been in the chat room. He's going to be coming on, and we're going to be talking about a bit of an issue in the scientific world where they have a really hard time replicating the results of experiments. Turns out, I think more than half of experiments can't be duplicated. And it actually is a big enough problem. They call it the replicability crisis. And we're going to be discussing that and kind of what it means for science and just how much attention it means you should pay to, well, this study says. Hint, it mostly means nothing. But what can you do?
That one will probably go way over my head, but I'll tune in. I'll be like, what are they talking about? Is this nerd stuff?
Oh, this is totally nerd stuff. Yeah, Red, you know I'm a nerd.
I know. All right, I'll come to just support you and your friend, but I won't know what you're talking about. I'll just talk shit in the chat with whoever else is there.
We will try to make it as easily understandable for people as humanly possible.
Aw, you'll dumb it down for me?
I never said that.
That's mean.
It is.
It's okay.
So thanks again to everybody for tuning in. Everybody that was in the chat room, thanks for hanging in. Everybody that was lurking out there on YouTube, and everybody that watches or listens to this later on. So next time we'll be talking about scientific things. And until then, y'all take it easy and keep fighting the good fight.